Okay, so the whole course is divine romance, and tonight, chanting, my absolute favorite. So let's see if I can give you what I feel inside. So we'll start with a prayer. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, friend, beloved God, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Sri Yukteswar, and our beloved Guru, Paramhansa Yogananda ji, saints and sages of all religions, friend and guide, Swami Kriyananda. Humbly we bow before you all. Divine Mother, be with us this evening. Open our hearts. Fill us with thy love and joy. We are your children, longing to be your instruments here on this earth, longing to grow in our consciousness, longing to grow in our awareness of you. Guide us and help us always. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Amen. Okay, at the risk of not having enough time to finish everything, we're just going to have one short chant before we get started on the other stuff. This is just to warm us up a tiny bit. Okay. So. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. I will never forget thee. I will never forsake thee. I will never forget thee. I will never forsake thee. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. I will never forget thee. I will never forsake thee. I will never forget thee. I will never forsake thee. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. I will never forget thee. I will never forsake thee. I will never forget thee. I will never forsake thee. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. I will never forget thee. I will never forsake thee. I will never forget thee. I will never forsake thee. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. I will never forget thee. I will never forsake thee. I will never forget thee. I will never forsake thee. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. I will never forget thee. I will never forsake thee. I will never forget thee. I will never forsake thee. I will never forget thee. I will never forsake thee. I will never forget thee. I will never forsake thee. And we'll just take a minute just to quiet our minds and quiet our hearts and to let go of the day, to be fully present here. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Amen. Okay, I'm actually going to start by reading from Ananda Chants, what Swami Kriyananda has said about why we chant. I know when I first came to Ananda, my background was first as a Baptist for the first almost 16 years of my life, and then as a Catholic for the next 30-some, or maybe 40 years of my life, until I found Ananda, and I'm dying here. But music has always been an important part of my spiritual being. And I actually, when I was looking for Ananda, trying to find a place where I could go to that agreed with my mental beliefs about religion, my understanding of religion, I was looking for this. But I couldn't find it, and my life was happening and stuff, and so I almost went back to the Baptist church because the music was good. And I went one Sunday and thought, no, this is not going to work. Even the music was passable at that particular time, but it just was not going to work. So music has been tremendously important. The first time I came to Ananda, it just so happened that Swami Kriyananda was here. I don't know what the event was, but the place was packed. I was by myself, so I squeezed into a little spot. And the music, once again, oh my gosh, and it was the first time I actually heard chanting in the way that we do it here, of singing the same thing over and over and over again, the same words over and over again. And I thought, okay, this is it. This is it. The words were so simple that you could just pick them up. At that time, I think we did have an overhead projector with the words, but sometimes there were no words projected, and so you just had to listen and learn the words. And it absolutely spoke to my heart. And then, of course, the choir sang, and that was, again, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. So music has always been tremendously important. And actually, some of you already know that my husband is deaf. My work outside the world was always most of the time with people who can't hear, deaf people. And when our first child was just a baby, we decided, my husband and I were both Catholic, we decided to go to the Catholic Church, and there was a deaf Catholic church, and so that was what we did. And it just so happened that the priest there was just really a broad thinker and very knowledgeable, and so we developed a very close relationship with him. And one time in talking with him, he was skilled at signing, he had worked with the deaf, that was the work that he did, and he loved doing that work, and so on and so forth. But he and I, probably in my kitchen at the time, were having the two of us, a conversation, and he said, we talked about how is it, what replaces for deaf people what we get from music? What replaces it? And I don't think either of us came up with an answer for that. Because for me, music, and I think I said this to him, music gets me ready to be with God in that sense. Music gets me ready to open my mind and my heart, to quiet my mind. Because otherwise, my mind is analyzing this and analyzing that and liking this and not liking that. And music can bypass all those things. And I hope that I'll tell you some of that, things that have happened to me in that way. So music has been very important to me for those reasons. So why we chant, let's see what Swamiji has to say. So devotional chanting is one of the most powerful tools on the spiritual path for transforming consciousness by opening the heart and increasing receptivity. Oh yeah, it bypasses the critical, the analytical mind and opens the heart. And then it makes us receptive. That was exactly what, I didn't have these words to say it, but that's what gets me ready to be in God's presence, or ready to even want to be in God's presence, is the music, and the chanting really does that. The subtle vibrations of chants literally change and uplift the very thoughts that arise in our mind. Wow. Swami Kriyananda has stated that chants consist of simple sentences repeated over and over again, each time with deeper concentration and devotion. Deeper concentration and devotion. As buildings and places develop vibrations according to the consciousness of people frequenting them, so music also develops vibrations beyond those of the actual sounds. Chants have been spiritualized particularly by great saints. Chants that have been spiritualized, particularly by great saints, have a heightened power to inspire whoever sings them. And Paramhansa Yogananda has said, chanting is half the battle. Okay, so I'm going to ask you guys, for this first part, we're going to put on our thinking analytical hats, and then after a while, we're going to let them go into our divine devotional beings. What is meant by chanting is half the battle? What do you think? Yeah, as I keep thinking about it, and the answers I got here are not quite what I thought I would have said, so give me some ideas, what you think. What is meant by chanting is half the battle? What is the battle? Let's say it this way. What is the battle? Opening your heart to God. The battle is opening your heart to God. What, someone else said something? To stop thinking of other things. The battle is to stop thinking of other things. Yeah. Overcome the delusions of ego. So chanting helps us to overcome the delusions of ego. The battle is to overcome the delusions of ego. Wow, you guys are good. Someone else?
The mind.
I'm sorry?
The mind.
The mind. Quieting the mind? So dropping the mind. Oh, yeah. And chanting is miraculous in doing those things. It really, very good. So here from Master Paramhansa Yogananda ji, this is taken from Cosmic Chants. The importance and power of the habit of chanting cannot be overestimated. To banish inertia, indifference, lack of devotion, sad moods, blind attachments, and a host of other enemies of spiritual enlightenment, Master said, chanting is half the battle. So yes, I think we've hit on most of those. Again, the purpose of chanting is to realize a definite experience of God's presence as conceived in the words of the song. And he who chants these songs with great devotion will later discover that the chants are repeating themselves in the subconscious background of his mind, bringing ineffable joy, even while he is in the thick of daily battle of activity. So, yes.
This came to me that this, thinking of half the battle, it seems like what you were saying earlier about getting you ready, that there is something about chanting. It's not like chanting is the end point, but rather chanting is that process, as you were saying, getting out of moods, getting past the mind, so that preparing and getting yourself moving in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just thinking.
Yeah, so Sharmila was saying that, repeating actually, I think, what I was saying, that chanting is getting ready. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, getting ready for, and it's not just the end in itself. Chanting is not the end in itself, but the getting ready to do something else. And that is one of the things that Swamiji has said over and over again, is that when we chant, it's really, in a way, preparing us for meditation. So yes, we chant because we love chanting, but it really has this other end result, another purpose, an end result, I think another, I almost want to say a blessing or the dessert, the benefit of it, the benefit of chanting. And the benefits are many. But before I go on, I think I have something in here about the benefits. Yeah. But I wanted to ask you another question. Devotion. We talk about devotion and chanting and devotion, and those things go together. What does devotion mean? But instead of defining devotion, I would like for you just to throw up some words, and I'm going to write them. Words that, when you think of devotion, just tell me some words that you think of. Love. Faithfulness. Huh. Wait just a minute. Did we have another one? Oh, there was a fly. Okay. Okay. Okay, yes. Connection. Huh. Offering. Concentration.
Dedication. Acceptance.
Ooh. acceptance. Wow. Surrender. Ooh. Anything else? Appreciation. I hope that has two P's. Yeah. Trust. Is that what you said? Trust? I'm going to throw in one funny one, strange one. You may not get it. And I'll tell you why I say distraction. Distraction. Because to me, I want to always be distracted towards God. You know, I'm doing this, but I want to be distracted, always to have him tapping me on the shoulder, always appearing before me. I want that distraction towards God. But I think these words are just really, really beautiful. And to me, they affirm what I think is that it's really hard to define the word devotion. You can say, oh yes, I'm really devoted to my children. People say, well, you know, if you're, for me, playing computer games, you're devoted to computer games. Well, no, it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. This, you know, you can have habits and things that you do because you need to, because they're part of your life, because you're expected to, because you have to eat. You do things and you give attention to those things. And hopefully you give undivided attention to those things, you know, with your children, your husband, or, you know, you want to give them that attention, that devotion in a sense. These, I think, speak of a higher level of devotion. And I just am not sure that I've ever found a definition that satisfies me as much as these words that just come. Let's see what I have written on devotion. This is, yeah, okay. Swamiji says, devotion, as explained in the teachings of Swami Kriyananda, is more than just a feeling of the heart. It involves an absolutely one-pointed attention where you know what you want in life and do not desire anything else. That's a pretty high bar, I think, because so many of us live and we do a little of this and we do a little of that. And, oh, yeah, I'm going to go to Ananda, and we do a little of this. Oh, yeah, I got to meditate. That one-pointed, you know, someday we'll get there. And that's a good goal. Okay, also, devotion is also described as a state that is less than love, but involves awe, dedication, someone said dedication, and focus. As one develops this focus and gives themselves more to this consciousness, love begins to fill them. So, even if we can't say one definition of devotion that covers all instances of it, I think that we've done a pretty good job here of really talking about the devotion that we're talking about when we're chanting and what that is going to sort of develop in us, because that's part of what chanting is about, is developing this sense of devotion. So then you wonder, well, what is meant by devotion? Well, these things. If I develop a sense of surrender, and without saying it, we mean surrendering to the infinite, surrendering to the will of God, surrendering to letting go of my ego and knowing there's something more. That is my surrender. That is my way of knowing that, yes, devotion is a part of my life. Offering that, you know, I offer myself, all that I have and all that I don't have, all that I wish and all that I wish were not. I offer that to God. And to me, that just the act of offering is where there's that devotion. And again, it's, you know, it's that sense of something. You can't quite put your finger on a word that will, just one word that will describe it. So all of these things. Concentration, dedication, connection. Yeah, connection with God, connection with the infinite. So this was very good, beautiful. Okay. Chanting. Let's talk a little bit about chanting as not as performance. Chanting is not something that you do, or don't do because I can't carry a tune very well. My voice isn't really good. Chanting is like praying, and especially for me, the chants that are very simple and with very few words are praying, praying, praying. And the chants that have many, many words are also praying, praying, praying. When I don't have the words for a prayer, I sometimes find the words in a chant or find the words in a song, and I use those as my prayer. Literally do this. Part of a song or part of a chant, I say that over and over again, or say it, periodically throughout the day. That is my prayer to God. Change me, do this, whatever, but it's very often taken from a chant. So my real point is that chanting is for everybody. Is there anyone here who can't talk? Okay. And even if there were a deaf person here, I would still say you still can chant. So I want you to be sure that you will, in fact, do it. So here we're going to talk about the effects on the brain of producing, that is, singing outward, as opposed to listening. Because sometimes people want to just listen to the beauty of the songs and everyone else can sing it, and think that I like chanting. I like sitting and listening to chanting. This is passive, and it's more effective on everything that you want to happen for you if you actually sing. So one of the things that is said is it stimulates the prefrontal cortex. So the prefrontal cortex, we also want to stimulate when we're meditating. That's one of the things that happens. And the interesting thing about that is that meditation, they say, actually gives us a sense of connection with other people, of broadening our sense of me and mine to us and ours. And that is something that we want. So that can happen with meditation, and it also can happen with chanting. So chanting, whereas when you're listening, you're stimulating the back part of the brain. Chanting, you're stimulating the prefrontal cortex. Plus, you're involving the musculature to actually get the deep breath and get the sound out. And you're actually also thinking about the words, or at some level, even if it's subconscious, you have the words there. So you're actually using more of the brain when you're singing rather than when you're just listening. So have I convinced everyone in here? Because today we're going to have everybody opening their mouth and producing something. If I have any naysayers, let me know. Okay. Chanting also gives us access to the superconscious level of consciousness. It also heals the body, mind, and soul. Wow. Just by chanting, that this can have this positive effect. And I didn't look for it this time in preparing, but there was something about the vagus nerve, which is a nerve that starts, I think, in the base of the brain and goes down around close to the stomach area and comes back up, the vagus nerve. And that is really, you probably know more about the vagus nerve. Do you know? Oh, okay. And that is a really powerful, a really significant nerve in our body, and something like singing actually causes it to be active, the vagus nerve, which is a good thing for it to be. So in lots of ways it is helpful. And chanting you will find ecstatic joy and God communion, and that's what this is about, right? We want that ecstatic joy and communion with God. So, and then just briefly, how chanting increases our devotion by increasing our focus and concentration. It focuses the mind and directs the mind toward God, and that's what chanting is doing for us. As opposed to just singing. If you're just singing another song that's really a pretty song. I know in my college years, I was really into folk music. And folk music has lots of ballads. And they just love those ballads. Oh my goodness. And they're about lost love, loved and lost, loved and lost. This actually is not pointing our soul in the direction that we want to go. We want to go towards God and goodness and light and joy and peace and all of those things. And chanting does that because it's ever directing us in an upward direction. And the music itself is also doing that. So Focus and concentration, good. The emotional connection, which is what I was just sort of talking about there. A divine response. By chanting, we are calling for that divine response. And this is one of the things that Master said about chanting something over and over and over again until you get that divine response. And what will that look like? That divine response will probably, from what the books have said, look like a sense of joy, a sense of peace, a sense of expansion. Maybe the kind of things that you also can get from meditation. And chanting is another way of going towards some of those same responses. You chant and chant and chant, and perhaps the feelings will come after you finish the chanting, but it is an avenue that can help you in that direction. And energy upliftment. So this is, again, another boost for chanting out loud, that it uplifts your energy. In order for you to be able to chant, you have to expend some energy, and so you want that energy to go up. Okay, we are going to, in talking about, I'll go to this, the consciousness. We are aware that there are 3 levels of consciousness. If you've taken classes here, you know about the conscious mind, the mind that we use just to function in the world every day, to do planning. You can share ideas with another person because you're focused on the same thing. This is ordinary consciousness. Subconscious is when we're half asleep, when we're ready to go to sleep, when your mind is quieting down. But in the subconscious mind, we are storing hopes, dreams, wishes, bad experiences, good experiences, lots of stuff is stored, right? And in our belief system, not only are we storing the things that have happened yesterday, that, I don't want to do that because that happened, without even realizing why I'm behaving in a certain way, that it's stored in my subconscious, but also things that have happened in lifetimes before, that these things are stored in the subconscious mind. All of that is there, and we're right now not going to deal with that. The superconscious is what we want to awaken. Because, so I've always thought, okay, how do you explain the superconscious? And so I looked up to get some things because, once again, it's one of those things, I kind of know I know the superconscious. This is a higher state of awareness that goes beyond the limitations of the conscious mind. In superconsciousness, the energy is infinitely greater, leading to divine awakening and enlightenment. It is marked by an unfathomable depth of bliss and a greater connection to the universe. This is the subconscious mind. We want to be at that level of not of thinking, that level of being in the subconscious mind. Let's see. The subconscious is considered a level of awareness that is above the conscious and the subconscious mind. It is where the soul's intuitive processes are manifested, leading to a deeper understanding and perception of reality. When we chant with the idea that the chant, you repeat it over and over again until it goes into the subconscious mind and then into the superconscious mind. And that is what we're aiming for. But what is the superconscious mind? I think we don't have to define it, but to recognize it when we're there. And some of these little hints will help us to say, okay, maybe that is when I'm really connecting. Because that's what our spiritual path is, in some sense, about, is to live in that superconscious level of awareness. But I'm going to go back to the subconscious and chanting over and over again. So when I started here at Ananda, I started in August. And the first December, every December we have a Christmas meditation, an 8-hour meditation. I had already meditated before this, but never for 8 hours. And it's not actually, if anyone hasn't been there, it's not a continuous 8-hour meditation, but you're sitting, you're involved here for 8 hours. It was the most memorable experience. Unfortunately, at the end of that, because this was, like a couple of days before Christmas, I still had some Christmas shopping to do. So I left after we finished the 8 hours, and I went and did my Christmas shopping, whatever it was. Never again, never again. If you ever go to the 8-hour meditation, know that the entire day is devoted to God, no Christmas shopping. I don't care how much you need to do. At that night, it was right here on this altar, and they had candles. As it got darker and darker, they would put candles on the altar. And there was one guy who would, between the meditation periods, he would get up. People were moving around just for a few minutes, and he would get up and he would light some candles and, just cleaning up the altar. It was just so precious to see him doing that. So by the evening, it was pretty much dark in here, and there was one chant that we're going to sing together. The chant was the Master's love for me. And it's not something that we do that often here, and sometimes the choir performs it, which is a whole different experience, But the chant was sung. And I had been to Ananda since August, so I had heard various chants. I had not ever heard that one before. I don't know what it was. It struck me so deeply. It just grabbed onto me, and I don't know why. I was so new that when they were saying the Master's love for me, I wasn't sure if the Master meant Jesus or God or Yogananda. I wasn't sure. I was just that new. So the song was really very impressive. The whole evening, which is why I described the evening, the whole evening was just really impressive. I did my Christmas shopping, I went home, I went to bed. The next morning, that song was playing in my head. And I had never seen the words written down, but, it had been played over and over again, not for, half an hour even. But it stuck with me. And then I came and asked, what was that song, and tried to find it. And at that time, it was not on any recording. So I can't even remember now how I was able to get the words for it. It was not even on a recording. But it really, it was my first, I think, really powerful experience of what chanting can do. So now we're going to sing it together. So if you haven't heard this ever, the first time, you can, look at the words for sure, and, just try and listen. And then as soon as you can, close your eyes and sing along. Please do sing along, even if you have to have your eyes open the whole time. But you'll want to at some point. If you can, close your eyes too, and just try to really take it in. But the singing is really important. So keep your eyes open and read the words. So we have the words? We do. Okay. So silently and sweetly the Master His love and joy enfold me in bliss and ecstasy. My mind is calm and peaceful, all cares are swept away, and in His omnipresence I know that I am free. My mind is calm and peaceful, all cares are swept away, and in His omnipresence I know that I am free. So sweet the sound of Om, 'tis Master's voice I hear in all-pervading silence. He whispers, I am here. My heart with joy is flowing, it sings eternally. There is no other love like the Master's love for me. My heart with joy is flowing, it sings eternally. There is no other love like the Master's love for me. So silently and sweetly the Master comes to me. His love and joy enfold me in bliss and ecstasy. My mind is calm and peaceful, all cares are swept away, and in His omnipresence I know that I am free. My mind is calm and peaceful, all cares are swept away, and in His omnipresence I know that I am free. So sweet the sound of Om, 'tis Master's voice I hear in all-pervading silence. He whispers, I am here. My heart with joy is flowing, it sings eternally. There is no other love like the Master's love for me. My heart with joy is flowing, it sings eternally. There is no other love like the Master's love for me. So silently and sweetly the Master comes to me. His love and joy enfold me in bliss and ecstasy. My mind is calm and peaceful, all cares are swept away, and in His omnipresence I know that I am free. My mind is calm and peaceful. All cares are swept away. And in His omnipresence, I know that I am free. So sweet the sound of home, 'tis Master's voice I hear. In all-pervading silence, He whispers, I am here. My heart with joy is flowing, it sings eternally. There is no other love like the Master's love for me. My heart with joy is flowing, it sings eternally. There is no other love like the Master's love for me. There is no other love like the Master's love for me. There is no other love like the Master's love for me. I have to pull you out of your sweet minds into your analytical mind again for a minute. So one of the things about this music that is not always the case, this particular song was written by Dr. Lewis, Master's first disciple here in the United States. And he directs the song to someone else. He doesn't direct it to Master. He says, he refers to him as he rather than saying you. But if you look at our chants, most of the time our chants are directed to God. They are you, thee, thine. So this is one exception, and it still works for me, even though it doesn't have that. But that actually, and at one time I sat down and sort of made a comparison, because in Protestant and Catholic churches, I think as well, there's a tendency to sing about God and about the beauty and the love of God. But in the Eastern tradition, there's more of a tendency to sing to God. Now, I actually did tick marks, checking which one was going which way. And it was pretty close, but there definitely were more chants in the Eastern approach to singing that was directed to God, which is what makes it work so much for me, that again, it's talking to God. The other thing I wanted to bring up is the way that we chant. And this is not just by chance, it's something that Master asks us to do. So you start off by chanting at a normal tone of voice or a slightly quiet tone of voice, but you bring it up to a normal level of loudness, and then even greater than that, a really rousing sound. In that sense, to awaken, not to awaken God, but to awaken ourselves, to bring our attention to what we're doing, that we're chanting, we're singing to God. But so that with that, then we raise our voice purposely. It's not by chance, we do it purposely. And after you chant at that level for some period of time, then you start bringing it down. And you know then that very often you're getting towards the end of the song because you're getting more and more quiet. Now you'll find if you go to kirtans that there will be a second burst of energy sometimes, and that chant will go up. And it's really hard to tell. I know that I've led it that way, and it's hard for me to even say there's something in the environment. You can feel it when the chant leader is beginning to do it, and I think the chant leader is going off of the feelings of the room to say, wait a minute, we're not done. And you and you come up again, and then you come down again, quieter and quieter. And then Master says, then bring it to a whisper, which is just, quiet singing, and then chant mentally only. To have, just, in our case, we very often will have the music behind it, which keeps your mind a little bit focused, but to chant mentally. And that is when we're really especially trying to encourage that chant to go into the subconscious, and then from the subconscious into the superconscious. Now, don't ask me how you can make it go into the superconscious. I don't know. But I do believe, and this was my example of the chant going into the subconscious. Who knows why? I think that repetition, and certainly, actually, I know that repetition can do that. If you have an earworm that you don't want in your head, try replacing it with a chant that you do want. And it's helpful if you have that chant going in your head a lot anyway, and then the earworm comes of something that you heard on the, the elevator or wherever are the worst ones, and replace it with that other one. So having that, that is something that you can put into your subconscious by exposure, doing it over and over again. So, okay. Do we have any questions before I go on to what's next? No? Okay, let me just make sure I don't forget anything. I'll just read this. The superconscious is a state that can be accessed through practices like meditation, where one listens for divine answers and attunes themselves to higher consciousness. It is a state that transcends ordinary awareness, leading to spiritual awakening and enlightenment. So that is part of what we're really trying to do with chanting and with our meditation, is to get to that expanded state of awareness. Okay, I want to tell you of another experience. There's a chant here that's rarely done. It's actually done more often now than it was years ago. It's, they have heard thy name. They have heard thy name. And the first time I heard the chant, an Ananda person who had been here for a really long time was chanting it. I took a dislike to it. I have a good reason. The chant has the words in it, they have heard thy name, the blind, halt, and lame. The chant, by the way, was translated by Paramhansa Yogananda ji of an old Bengali chant, and in Cosmic Chants, it was written in 1938. So that might explain the use of the words. Okay, like I said before, my husband is deaf. My whole world was around deafness and deaf people, a lot of deaf-blind people. So this is a world that, I'm really familiar with. And there's a lot of deaf pride and, no, or we don't have a problem here. You're the one, that kind of a thing that I went through for a number of years. And I was a part of that movement after all. There's nothing wrong with being deaf, and there's nothing wrong with being blind, and this is just the life. And I really do believe that. I really do believe. I'm not, but I was not comfortable with the wording here. And probably mostly because of the halt and the lame. It didn't sound politically correct. So I didn't like it. Likes and dislikes, ooh, okay. But came along a number of years after my first exposure to it, with the guy never sang it again. I think I may have told him my feelings about it. This was Dambara. I think I told him. Then, many years later, Tandava was leading the chanting, and he decided he was going to do this chant. And I was on the chant team, and that meant I had to do it along with him, right? He was the one making the decision. There was no reason why I could say, no, we're not going to do that chant. He was making the decision. And he chose to do it with some chords that are really hard. Now, chords are when you press down on 3 or 4 keys at the same time. If you're playing the melody, you're doing one at a time, usually with a drone. But the chords, you're pushing down on 3. There are certain chords that we use all the time. We know right where they are, and there are a few chords that we don't use very often. We don't know where they are. We have to look at the book and find them and whatever. Tandava was doing it in that key because he liked that key, and he sent out the information on what chords we were going to use, and he sent out a YouTube copy, a YouTube video of the chant the way that he was going to do it using those chords. I had no reason to not do it, to not learn it. So I worked on it, and worked on it, and worked on it, and worked on it. And right now this happened, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, quite some time ago. It was well before COVID. The YouTube video that he sent to us, I keep it on my phone. The experience of having to play this over and over again until I was able to do it using the chords that he wanted, it got into my heart. My analytical brain, likes and dislikes, was quieted. It's a song that I go to many times to hear it, to sing it. Because the wording is, the repeat of the sentences does not flow easily, so I very often have to look at it and see, which one comes next. The words are not hard, but the repeating of the sentences. It really did quiet that analytical mind. It quieted that likes and dislikes. It was just, I don't know. I can't say why. It's deep in my heart. And it was just having to chant it over and over again that made the difference. So we're going to do it. You can see lots of words. But don't worry, they're said over and over again. They have heard thy name, the blind, halt, and lame. They have heard thy name, the blind, halt, and lame. They have come to thy door, Lord. They have come to thy door. Give them an audience, Lord. They have heard thy name, the blind, halt, and lame. They have heard thy name, the blind, halt, and lame. Those who are in despair, wipe thou their tears. Those who are in despair, wipe thou their tears. They have come to thy door, Lord. They have come to thy door. Give them an audience, Lord. They have heard thy name, the blind, halt, and lame. They have heard thy name, the blind, halt, and lame. Those who are drowned in sin, to whom will they go? Those who are drowned in sin, to whom turn them away. They have heard thy name, the blind, halt, and lame. They have heard thy name, the blind, halt, and lame. They have come to thy door, Lord. They have come to thy door. Give them an audience, Lord. They have heard thy name, the blind, halt, and lame. They have heard thy name, the blind, halt, and lame. Those who are in despair, wipe thou their tears. Those who are in despair, wipe thou their tears. They have come to thy door, Lord. They have come to thy door. Give them an audience, Lord. They have heard thy name, the blind, halt, and lame. They have heard thy name, the blind, halt, and lame. Those who are drowned in sin, to whom will they go? Those who are drowned in sin, to whom will they go? They have no one, Lord. They have no one. Do not turn them away. They have heard thy name, the blind, halt, and lame. They have heard thy name, the blind, halt, and lame. They have heard thy name, the blind, halt, and lame. They have heard thy name, the blind, halt, and lame. They have heard thy name, the blind, halt, and lame. They have heard thy name, the blind, halt, and lame. I have one more event, one more activity or song, chant, but I think I'm going to switch and have Sai Ganesh do his, and if there's time, we'll do the other one. So.
I'm going to just share briefly, adding on to what Saranya was sharing, and then we will do a chant to finish the evening. I want to come back and pick up from a few things that we discussed last week. And I'm going to read a little bit, and we will continue this theme next week also, exploring this unique ray that was brought by Yogananda, and again, looking at the room. For those of us that are trying to tune into this particular style or vibration of relating to God, what that means, whether it's prayer, whether it's chanting, affirmations, relating and talking to God, all of that are just parts of it. I want to read something written by Swami Kriyananda, and I'll briefly discuss that, and I would invite any questions you have. This is part of a very long letter that us chanters are very familiar with. I couldn't tell you the hours of discussion that have... Saranya's laughing. There's a lot in that laugh. Of really trying to attune and understand what Yogananda meant by chanting, because that word is a plain English word, and it can refer to a lot of things. The way Tibetans would repeat certain mantras is called chanting. In India, we repeat the names of God, or sometimes there are mantras that you would even like silently chant under your breath. That is also called chanting. And here, what we call chanting uses a harmonium, and we use English words, and we sing the same thing over and over again. All I'm trying to say is the word chanting inherently doesn't mean what we're talking about. What we are talking about is a very specific definition and connotation of what we call chanting in this particular tradition. And I want to read a little bit, and this whole letter that we're talking about, it's in the book In Divine Friendship by Swami Kriyananda. If you're interested, you can read it there. But I'll just read a small part of it, and I want to comment on it. And then we'll briefly hear Yogananda chanting and Swami Kriyananda chanting as an example of what I'm talking about, and then we will end perhaps with another chant that we can all sing together. Paramhansa Yogananda brought to the world a whole new style of singing to God. His chants are not like traditional Indian chants. Yogananda's mission was to spiritualize the world, not to Indianize. He himself loved Indian music and was exceptionally well-versed in the Indian style of playing and singing. Even so, he didn't involve his audience in it, and from all I can tell, he even sought to inspire the audiences in India with his new style of chanting. We are disciples of a new ray, and within that ray, a new kind of music has been produced. I think we should honor this fact and emphasize it more. Yogananda never played Indian chants for group singing. Even in India, the only stories I've heard are of his chanting in a group one night when he sang and danced all night, and the chant he sang on that occasion in Bengali was Door of My Heart. And I'm going to skip a few parts. Most of us are raised on emotional music, so it comes to us more naturally. And there is also bound to be a tendency to like sounds that remind us of the music that we all grew up with. And this means liking and then wanting a side of chanting and singing that is already familiar to us. I worry about this. What he's writing is actually instructive for those who chant within Ananda, but also it is very relevant to what we are discussing here. I'll stop there because there's a lot he talks about which are somewhat technical to how you play the harmonium, how you use guitar as an instrument, how you sing with your voice, and many things that are more musical in nature. But I want to just comment on this one part of when we talk about chanting, we are not just using the word English chanting as what it means in English, because it could mean any things. And I bet you, I'm looking at the room, we all grew up in different cultures. It probably means something different even for each one of us. So when we say chanting, we are referring to something very specific that is not necessarily conveyed just by the word chanting. And, we do a lot of Indian chants, and we chant the names of gods. And I want to, it's not that Yogananda was correcting or saying that it was wrong. We will discuss and explore this a little bit more next week in terms of devotion and relating to God. It all has to and comes back to the path of Kriya Yoga and what it really means and how this particular line of gurus, and it's not just Yogananda. I could give the same talk about Larry Masha, and although he was in such an old school environment in Benares in the 1800s, what he expressed was something so unique and completely unrelated to anything that was happening around him at that time. And Yogananda did the same thing. It was not necessarily that he was asking us not to tune into God in ways that appeal to us or that are natural for us, but rather the idea of using our will is so central to the path of Kriya Yoga. Every chant that Yogananda wrote is actually an affirmation that is set to music. It's not that repeating the names of God is inherently wrong, but that's not how we tune into God on the path of Kriya Yoga, because that is relatively more passive than how Yogananda trained us to pray. One of the prayers, for those of you who are here on Sunday, I read that section from the 6th edition of Whispers written by Yogananda. That prayer is there in the 1st edition too, but this was a longer version, which all of us are familiar with, those of us that have been here. I will, I will think, I will act, guide thou my will. This might sound like a simple prayer, but it's nuanced in more ways than we might often think just from the words. That idea of engaging your will as part of your prayer is central to how we practice spirituality on the path of Kriya Yoga. And so when Swami writes it emphatically that Yogananda never chanted Indian chants for group singing, he's trying to make a point, not because Indian chants are not devotional or inspiring or beautiful or opening our hearts to God, but they are not what represent the path of Kriya Yoga, because they do not engage our will. The way we relate to God in this day and age, going back to the autobiography of a yogi and the idea of Dwapara and the shift in energy and Babaji meeting Lahiri, I'm sure all of you know these stories, and you can tie it back to a lot of what we know and study on this path. We are at a shift and a cusp of a new way of understanding and relating to God and spirituality. And this style of chanting is so central to how we do that, because even in that music, even when you bypass the mind, you do not bypass the will. That will is central. You are clear, you are speaking to a certain aspect of God, and you are taking charge of your spiritual life. Your spiritual life is not somebody else's responsibility. That is the path of Kriya Yoga summarized in one sentence. It's not with a priest, it's not in a ritual, it's not in a mantra. It's by your own commitment and sincerity and willingness to do the work that it takes to transform yourself. And the chants that we do and the way we chant are a reflection of that principle in action, because we use words and affirmation and ideas, we get past them. It's not mental, because when you repeat and there's the groove, the melodies are simple and you keep repeating it over and over again, and then obviously, it's not something you're constantly thinking all the time. But even in that simple way of purely relating to God from your heart, Yogananda trained us to use our will, to actually declare what it is that we are seeking, not for God's sake, for our own sake. Because if we don't, it encourages and nurtures a certain passivity in our own consciousness. Not because God needs to be told that he needs to give us courage or whatever it is. We don't need to declare this for God to hear, but in our own subconscious and our superconscious, this has to be explicitly declared as something that we are investing our own will behind. And so this style of chanting is unique, and as we explore various ways in which Yogananda taught us to do that, I just wanted to share that thought. And we will continue to include more chants in the coming couple of weeks as well, and as we explore the whispers, it's going to become even more obvious. But before we move on to our chanting, I'm going to ask Nivedita to play a couple of, just a brief 2-minute clip of Yogananda chanting, which is, you can get ready, I'll tell you when I want it to be played. And then Swami Kriyananda. It's fascinating for me because Yogananda's voice, the first time I was already totally enamored and on this path before I heard Yogananda's voice, thankfully, because it's jarring. At least for me, it's not what one expects. He's musical, but in a very different way than I'm musical. I was trained as a musician from a very young age. So just the nuance and the subtlety and the softness of how you use your voice. Swami Kriyananda is somebody who I can imitate and tune into a lot more, because he was just musically very nuanced. I mean, open-throated does not even begin to describe how Yogananda sang. It was open-hearted and open-throated, but it was also just very intense. And, I want us to listen to both of their voices singing, and please sing along as they are chanting also. But tune into that same open-hearted, open-throated quality too. Swami expresses it very differently, not through volume, but rather a style of projection from the back of the throat. I'm not going to get very technical here, but when you hear him sing choral music versus chanting, he uses his voice very differently. If you notice, you will perhaps see that as well. And then I want to just make a couple of comments about how we can also express that same style when we sing. You can see there are links that are open. The first one is Yogananda. Can mute me.
Christ is hidden behind the darkness of your mind, behind the clouds of restlessness. And when you peer into the darkness, you shall behold the light of Christ. Sing with me, especially during Christmas or any time you feel the call of Christ and want to call him in the temple of your heart.
Christ come, oh my cloud-colored Christ come. Oh my Christ, oh my Christ, oh my Christ, oh my Christ, Jesus Christ come. Cloud-colored Christ come, oh my cloud-colored Christ come. Oh my Christ, oh my Christ, oh my Christ, oh my Christ, Jesus Christ come. Cloud-colored Christ come, oh my cloud-colored Christ come. Oh my Christ, oh my Christ, oh my Christ, oh my Christ, Jesus Christ come. Cloud-colored Christ come, oh my cloud-colored Christ come. Oh my Christ, oh my Christ, oh my Christ, oh my Christ, Jesus Christ come. Cloud-colored Christ come, oh my cloud-colored Christ come. Now, we will move on and listen to Swami Kriyananda. And, I'm going to encourage you just for fun here. I don't want to, again, like I said, I don't want to get technical here. But when you sing, sometimes in choral singing, we are taught to think of a golf ball behind in the back of the throat. I'm going to invite you to do the opposite. I want you to feel like your lips are wider when you sing, and try, if you, in your own voice and your own head, try to imitate. Probably none of us are mimicry artists. We probably wouldn't be good trying to imitate voices. But I'm going to invite you to try, if you were trying to imitate and sing like Swamiji, what would that feel like? You don't have to be loud. You can be quiet if you want to. But I invite all of you to sing. But for the next 2-3 minutes, we are just going to sing Door of My Heart. And I want you to try and almost feel a smile in your heart and in your own being, as if you can feel that openness and devotion when you sing, and trying to relax your face and also keep your gaze centered at the spiritual eye as you sing.
just for once come to me. Will my days fly away without seeing thee, my Lord? Will my days fly away without seeing thee, my Lord? Night and day, I look for thee, night and day, night and day,
Let's just pause for a moment. Let's tune into the sweetness. Let's tune into the sweetness of Swami's voice, the open-heartedness, the power, the openness in Yogananda's voice. Does anybody have any questions or thoughts from whatever I shared briefly, or just that experience of trying to tune in? I actually would recommend doing this, to chant with Swamiji, trying to match how his words fall, because Swami was intentionally and not rhythmic when he chanted. He in fact encouraged us also not to be. That's another distinct way from which Yogananda did like the drums, just to be clear. It's not like he was against rhythm. But Swami often encouraged us to not focus on rhythm, not that he was against it, because oftentimes when you get deeper and devotional, rhythm is felt through the body. He was encouraging us more to rest in the heart. So if phrases linger a little longer, and if you break the downbeat and things like that, he wanted us to feel much more freer in exploring those spaces and just tuning in and getting everything out of each note and each space in that chant. Anything anyone wants to share from this experience, or in general, questions?
I think it's very freeing because unconsciously we carry so much of structure.
Yeah.
While chanting, so this is a very different perspective. It's very freeing. It's like becoming childlike.
Yeah.
Letting go and
Yeah.
just focusing on what really matters.
Yeah.
And moving
Yeah.
rather than being under this.
Thank you. I'm going to repeat it for the sake of the recording. Someone in the room was saying how the style, that is very freeing to chant that way. It's almost becoming childlike. And that's what I feel when Swami chants also. When I asked you to try and extend the frontal part of your mouth and move voice placement more towards that there, that's how children sing. Children don't do this. And I've noticed that Swami's style of chanting, especially when he chants, his voice acquires a childlike quality. And I enjoy chanting like that personally. And for those of us in the choir, it is still helpful for us to sing with proper technique when we sing those songs. But with chanting, it is different. It is very helpful to feel freer. And also to underscore something you mentioned, the freedom. If I were to state it in a slightly different way also, is the freedom comes from the idea that when you chant, there is no reality except you and the person you're chanting to. And that's where that freedom comes from. That's why chanting is freeing, because this is not about musicality, this is not about voice projection, this is not about getting anything right, but this is the sweetness of your own heart that is naturally being expressed, the outpouring of energy between you and God. So anytime we sing, we want to sing to the listening presence of God and Guru everywhere around us, not to the person next to us, the person in front of us. It's really important in chanting. It's almost for maybe for people like Saranya or I or Sharmila, it took me some time to understand that, because I'm also sitting there on a microphone trying to project, but also for me to be in that space of I'm singing to God. I'm not singing for the sake of leading a group, or I'm not singing in order to project something, because there is a significant difference in the energy people feel and receive when we actually sing to God. And that's part of also serving through chanting, when you share it or do it in a group. It is important that we ourselves retain that space within us so others can feel. But for the most part, for most of us who are in the audience or present or chanting in our own personal practice, it's really important to feel that we don't do that with all music. Sometimes you're just humming a tune when you're driving the car, which is the subconscious way, which is wonderful because it is still rewiring our brain in many ways. But when you actually sit and chant, it's really important. Whether you think about the words, whether you think about the tune, is secondary to the fact that you don't lose that connection. You don't forget who's listening when you're singing. You are never not aware of that listening presence that is there, and that's the presence to which you are singing. And it's very important, especially in this style of chanting. We will continue to chant and do more in the upcoming weeks, but now I just want to read one whisper, which is one of my favorite. Of my top 3 or 4, this is certainly one of my favorites. It's a very short one, and especially with chanting, this is one that I find very helpful and deep. And then Saranya and I will lead us all in a chant before we end this evening. You can also join, I'll sit down. But let's tune into the words of this whisper from Yogananda, and this really, really describes and exemplifies what we are trying to do when we chant. I will sing a song uninfluenced by the voice of any other. I will offer thee my own pristine heart melodies. I will sing thee a song unheard by any. I have nurtured the song child myself. Now I bring it to thee for higher training. I will offer thee no intellectual, premeditated, art-disciplined song. What I will offer thee are the wild songs of my heart. I'll offer thee not civilized, emotion-packed music or artfully cultivated song flowers, but the wild blossoms that grow on the high hills of my own soul. I will read the last line once again. I will offer thee not civilized, emotion-packed music or artfully cultivated song flowers, but the wild blossoms that grow on the high hills of my soul. I just want to say one last thing. I love this whisper because I think about this whenever I chant. This one line, I will sing a song unheard by any. And I think it's worth meditating on that every time we chant. I don't know in the last 15, 16 years how many times I have sang Door of My Heart. It is very hard to call it unheard by any, let alone how many times I myself have sung it. But I often, and as much as I can, I try to consciously tune into this idea of singing that melody that is not heard by any. What that means is Swami Kriyananda often would quote this example about what originality really means, what creativity means. It's coming from your point of creation, point of origin. What it really, when you say, and the example that he would always give is a phrase like, I love you. How many times has that been repeated over centuries, thousands of years in every language possible? And yet, when you feel it and you say it to your beloved, it carries so much meaning and import. It is like it has never been heard before because it doesn't carry the weight of all the past times that it was repeated by anyone else or even by yourself. It is unheard because it's pristine. It comes from your point of origin when it's truly felt in your heart. And anytime all of us in this room were perhaps heard or said those words, I love you, whether to our romantic partner or to somebody else in our life. And when we feel it, I'm sure we all know what I'm talking about. When it comes from your point of origin, it's pristine. It's as if it has never been heard before, and it really touches the person, or if it's you receiving it, it touches you. And that's what we want every chant to be. That when it comes from your point of origin, it has never been heard before. Every phrase, every time you repeat, even if you repeat it 100 times, the same line over and over again, each repetition is unheard because it's pristine and it's original. And that's really what we are trying to do when we chant, because we want to come from the deepest part of ourselves and we want to express that intention, that sincerity, that love through our hearts, using our voice as instruments, again, to underscore what Saranya was saying, so different from listening to music, because you can't listen to somebody saying, I love you. You feel the power when you say it, because you express that originality, that pristine love through your own voice. That energy can flow through you. So with that, we'll just take 3 or 4 more minutes to do a chant as we end this evening. Nivedita, can you turn on Saranya's mic?
We're not going to put the words up there. I'm going to write this. Very easy. No, I'm just going to do the Sanskrit part, the Bengali part.
Oh, okay. So you're right, I'll describe it. This is a Bengali song, but this is not a traditional Bengali song. This was a song chant written by Yogananda in Bengali. And the words are Kole Tule Nema Kali, Kaler Kole Dishna Fele. We have Pooja here, who is Bengali, and I'm going to translate it. In Kole Tule Nema Kali literally means, receive me on my lap, Mother Kali. Kalir Khole Dishna Fele. Don't drop me on the door of darkness or delusion. Don't abandon me. Hold me in your lap.
Okay. Kole tule ne makali, kaler kole dishna fele. Let's all say it to be sure that you have it. Kole tule ne makali, kaler kole dishna fele. Okay. So we will say it some in English, but at some point we're going to go to singing it just in Bengali, because once you know what we're saying, would you repeat the literal translation again?
It's pretty much what we sing in English. Kole tule nema Kali, Mother Kali, take me on your lap. Kaler kole dishna fele. Do not drop me, abandon me on the door of darkness.
Okay.
Is that right, Pooja? Time. That's true. The word kaler has 2 meanings. It means darkness, and it also means time. Destruction, death. Yeah. The word for time and darkness is the same, because what that really is referring to, death is time, destruction is time.
Okay.
Time is how death is just a manifestation of time, because...
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. So while we're doing this song, I'm going to walk you through doing some hand movements to imagine or to encourage the energy to move up the spine and to offer it to the divine. So one of the words that we had for devotion was, I think self-offering might have been a word, or surrender, offering for sure. And so we want to actually use your hands to do that. And it will just be really simple. You can start, you're sitting down anyway, your hands are at your lap, upturned, which is a receptive way for the hands that we usually do when we're meditating, receptive. And then at some point, and I will walk you through it at first, and then after we've done it for a little bit, then you can stop doing it, or you can do it every now and then, whenever, while we're chanting, okay? But you'll just have your hands on your lap. Whenever you feel to, you raise your hands slowly. You can imagine the energy gathered at the heart and onward, upward to the spiritual eye. And you want the energy of the heart. It's so easy for the energy of the heart to go outward. Once again, that, oh, I love that. Oh, I love this. I love that. That's going out. We want to offer it always to God, offering it to the divine. And so raising your hand to the spiritual eye and then beyond, okay? And so you'll do that as the music is going, just whatever rate of speed feels right for you. And then you don't have to keep doing it, after a while your arms get tired. But you're going to be singing. You're going to be singing all along with it. At some point, I'm going to ask you to think of 2 things that you will actually sort of focus on that you're going to offer to God. And one will be something that you really wish that you didn't do. Some characteristic inside of yourself that you wish that you could change that. Like, for example, short-tempered, or tendency to be judgmental, or impatient, or any characteristic when you look at yourself and you say, I wish I didn't have that characteristic. And so as you chant this, you're going to offer it. You're going to offer, okay? And then the other thing that I want you to think about is something that you really like about yourself. I'm really good at this, really have a good wit, or I, just really know how to put clothing together, or people say my smile is nice, any of those things. And once again, as if tomorrow you no longer have that cherished part of, it's not cherished, it's just part of who I am, but I like it. You're going to offer that to God as if you will no longer have it, and you gratefully offer it up, okay? So I'll say when you might start doing that, and you can do that, but basically all this time we're going to be chanting, okay? So we'll start off in English, and then at some point we'll move to Bengali and possibly back to English. We'll see. Okay. So do you see how I'm doing it?
I'll watch you.
Receive beyond thy lap, O Mother, cast me not at death's door. Receive me on thy lap, O Mother, cast me not at delusion's door. Receive me on thy lap, O Mother, cast me not at death's door. Receive me on thy lap, O Mother, cast me not at delusion's door. Ole tule nema kali, kaler kole Krishna fele. Kole tule nema kali, kaler kole Krishna fele. Receive me on thy lap, O Mother, cast me not at death's door. Receive me on thy lap, O Mother, cast me not at delusion's door. Ole tule nema kali, kaler kole Krishna fele. Kole tule nema kali, kaler kole Krishna fele. Kole tule nema kali, kaler kole Krishna. And now begin to raise one of your hands upward, gathering that energy at the heart and lifting it to the spiritual eye and offering it to the infinite divine. And again, your hand down here, raising it up, heart chakra, gathering the energy there, and continuing up to the spiritual eye, and offering all that you are, all that you have, all that you wish for, that you wish you didn't have. And wait now just a minute and gather your thoughts, whatever it is that you feel ready to let go of. You wish that it wasn't a part of your life. You wanted to offer it to God. Please take this from me. I don't need it any longer. Offer it to God. And again, lift your hand upward towards your heart, gathering that energy, the energy that you're really ready to let go of, into the spiritual eye, and offer it to God. God will take it from you. And again, the same thing.
Krishna pele kole tule nema kali kaler kole 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 Krishna pele kole tule.
And now think of something that you want to offer that really is a part of yourself. How can you let go of this part of yourself? And yet it's time to let it go. Raise it up. God will take it. Fill your heart with the joy that you've had over the years with that part of yourself. It's just part of who you are, and it's been good. And lift it to the spiritual eye and offer it to God.
Krishna pele kole tule nema kali kaler kole Krishna pele kole tule.
And now let your hands rest on your lap and sit quietly, being receptive to whatever the divine has to offer you. With gratitude, receptivity, openness.
Kaler kole Krishna pele kole tule nema kali kaler kole Krishna pele kole tule nema kali kaler kole Krishna pele kole tule nema kali kaler kole Krishna pele nema kali kaler kole Krishna pele. Let's pray together. Divine Mother,
Divine Mother,
we offer ourselves
we offer ourselves
unreservedly
unreservedly
into thy light.
into thy light.
We stand naked,
We stand naked,
all our imperfections
all our imperfections.
we lay at your feet.
We lay at your feet.
Receive us,
Receive us.
purify us,
Purify us.
open our hearts
Open our hearts.
that we may receive your love
That we may receive your love
and share it with everyone.
and share it with everyone.
Om.
Om.